I don't even think he disagreed with me.
You have no legacy. You're pathetic. You're a slop commentator. You are nothing. Sit the f down. No contributor of anything in this entire world. Shut up.
Mom, help me. The YouTubers are fighting again is exactly what I would be saying with this situation between two large creators that are beefing. This happens quite a lot on YouTube. People don't really get on. There's a lot of infighting. And today's beef revolves around two YouTubers, Caleb Hammer and D'Angelo Wallace. Now, D'Angelo is a commentary channel, and he blew up over the pandemic with his, incredibly long video essay-styled commentary videos. Oh, sorry, I forgot to do the setup for viewer retention. There we go. Now my legs are on full display. But D'Angelo is a creator that blew up. He did deep dives on a lot of creators, like, for example, going over influencers who were partying during lockdown. Also, most notably, calling out larger creators like Cody Ko. And I know a lot of YouTubers tend to call out other YouTubers, but looking at Cody Ko's channel now, he has gone back to uploading on his second channel, but his views really never recovered after that. Now, like I said, D'Angelo would do these huge, long essay-styled videos, but then, like most people that are YouTubers, there was a little devil on his shoulder whispering into his ear, and the devil said, start a slop channel, a daily slop channel. So D'Angelo started a streaming channel where he would upload basically shorter videos going over like singular topics, basically every single day, every other day. And on one fateful Friday, he decided to cover Caleb Hammer. Now, Caleb is another huge creator, incredibly successful. You've probably seen him on TikTok or your Instagram reels, him usually doing a podcast and crashing out at someone that's incredibly financially irresponsible.
You spend $120,000 in a year, you dumb making $30,000.
And he has a show called Financial Audit. And this is a show where he brings people on who are financially struggling. And he tries to break down their finances, like, credit cards, bank statements, any kind of debt, ongoing payments, and basically trying to solve what has gone wrong in their lifestyle and spending habits that have led them to the point of coming onto the show. Also, I have a brand new channel, link in the description. I upload gaming content on there pretty frequently, so please check it out. It has hilarious moments like this. Retire and start a family. Not the end. I'm about to start crying on stream. In a really morbid way, it's kind of like My 600-Pound Life, where you get a bunch of fat people and they're told that they're eating too much. And you could probably tell because they're on a show called My 600-Pound Life. But at the same time, I feel with finances, you can't immediately tell what people are blowing their money on, but they do tend to self-report very quickly. Now, if you're familiar with the radio personality Dave Ramsey, it's sort of like a modern-day internet version of that format. But before D'Angelo could even get the video edited and put out onto his channel, Caleb booted up his own stream, basically clapping back at D'Angelo. And he jumped the gun and did the thing that most YouTubers immediately do when they're criticized, implied that he was threatening to sue D'Angelo.
If you don't think I know how to do legal strategy, you have no idea what's happened behind the scenes. I destroy people. I will destroy you. Do you not know what you are doing right now? You are literally walking yourself into a I'm talking to my lawyers on Monday.
So by the time D'Angelo even posted this video, which again was just highlights of his stream, Caleb's reaction was already done. So D'Angelo then put out his own video explaining the situation, and he titled it, Caleb Hammer is threatening to sue me over this video. Which, to be fair, out of both fan bases, this is probably the first time the majority of people heard about this situation. So D'Angelo begins the video by talking about his explanation of Caleb's stream. And then he said he's going to take some time to formulate a proper response to Caleb's stream. D'Angelo then introduces Caleb as calling him, everything wrong with YouTube.
Caleb Hammer is like, if everything wrong with YouTube was a person, I think it would actually be this dude.
And saying that he makes really weird misogynistic content, which is disguised as financial advice.
This dude is making anti-SJW content.
We don't listen to people that look like you anymore. I don't know if you know this. You've lost all the power.
What does that even mean?
And then he starts criticizing what he believes is basically blatant misogyny in the way Caleb presents his videos, his titles, his thumbnails. And then D'Angelo compares how Caleb titles his videos where the guests are men versus the videos where women are the guests. Basically saying that there's a huge gender bias, and Caleb is essentially making content that's aimed to, villainize women.
Didn't you take a woman who it really seems like her biggest sin was actually just being annoying? Question mark? And she is the one who gets called the dumb spoiled B word. He effing hates her, etc.
Now, I do feel like it's a bit of a weird one because, again, like the whole women being the butt of the joke, that has been something that's been going on for quite a while on the internet. I mean, Jesus, like I did a video, like, I think like 6, 7... I did a video a while ago where I basically criticized like Twitch girls. And also I remember even people like Minecraft YouTubers, like during lockdown in 2020, like Tommy in it and stuff, they would constantly make jokes at the expense of women because it was like kind of like a safety net. Now, I do also understand that the people that watch this channel, it is an absolute sausage fest. I think looking at my analytics, there's like around 5% of viewers that are female. And if so, congratulations on your recent transition. But I do feel that there's a difference between making like kind of a light-hearted joke like the Minecraft tier stuff and then also doing like Fit and Fresh podcast where you purposely get women on that cannot defend themselves, which then in turn makes all of womankind, is that a word? I don't know, I'm inventing it now, look bad. And also keep in mind as well, because Caleb's channel is finance-based, I guarantee you without a doubt the majority of his fan base or people that regularly consume his content, not just on shorts or TikTok, they will be men. So D'Angelo is basically trying to imply like you're getting people on that aren't like the norm or the majority, and you're basically, you know, putting them in a little clown outfit and making them dance for you for the sake of ad revenue. He says that ostensibly a finance channel, but then he spends a lot of time in his content finding like the most toxic people imaginable and then conflating their, you know, how toxic they are with their identity, which usually isn't a straight person. Like D'Angelo shows one of the videos that he titled called 369,000 of LGBT debt.
$369,000 of LGBTQIA plus debt. He's just bad with money and not nice to his partner. Why are you making this a gay thing? Because you're homophobic.
Now, I do want to say here, Caleb is definitely not the only person that's doing this. I think this is a huge thing at the minute because, again, I've cried about this loads of times online. We are moving away from people being able to sit down and consume long-form content into a much shorter medium. Everything has to be like quick fire, immediate dopamine, immediate like punchline or release. I mean, you know, it's like what? Reading a book will probably take you a certain amount of time. Watching a film will take you a couple of hours. Watching a TV series will take you, you know, anywhere between like 10 to maybe even 20 hours. And then a YouTube video will probably shorten that about like usually on average like 8 minutes to 20 minutes. 8 minutes usually because you can put the mid-rolls in. And YouTube as well does value people more. They upload longer videos. That's why most people are trying to upload longer and longer content onto YouTube, despite the fact that we're now going over a shift where people are going to be consuming shorter and shorter content. And obviously now we're reaching the point where people are so dopamine fried that they're basically just watching shorts all the time. I have seen people, by the way, that have said that they cannot enjoy video games anymore because they can't get off their phone and stop scrolling on TikTok. We are cooked. We are absolutely cooked. So obviously now creators like Caleb that get people on that are very reactionary, or, you know, someone has like an axe to grind with them, it makes sense because, you know, you're instantly getting that dopamine, that gratification. It's the exact same reason why, you know, you've got like Myron on Fit and Fresh podcast and they purposely get people on that would be considered controversial because, again, it gets clicks, it gets views. I mean, again, because our dopamine receptors are so fried at the minute, what are people most likely to sit down and watch? A very well thought out podcast going over finances and how to be able to, you know, fix someone's life, or random girl with like RGB keyboard colored hair talking about how Ultra Kill hasn't been released on 1.0 yet. And the thing is as well, this creates a feedback loop, right? Because if you do a certain video in a certain way and it does well on the YouTube studio, I mean, you've probably seen loads of creators cry about this before, how if you get 1 out of 10, there's even like a little, oh, look, confetti gift. Wow, your video's doing so well. Keep it up. It's going to reinforce you to keep trying to make that kind of content over and over. You got to keep in mind, people on YouTube usually aren't driven by ideals or values. They're driven by what gets a 1 out of 10 on the YouTube studio. And if a video does well, people are going to reinforce that. A great example with commentary. Why is everyone now saying the situation is insane? Because Critical did it. It did really well. And then everyone ended up copying him. Like, I am guilty of that. I will happily admit that. But there are so many other creators that do the exact same thing. We all copy what works. He then goes on to criticize Caleb for his choice of words. Like, for example, in this one clip, he's referring to a woman's disability payments that she gets for her autistic son. And he refers to it as hard payments.
She's not.
Well, but you're getting payments.
No, it's not payments. It's to help with her. It's to help her learn how to be a person and like help her function.
He also calls out Caleb for the way that he treats certain female guests just in like kind of a bizarre way.
Able to consent to roast you and whatnot and stuff before I go into this whole thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, then why the fuck are your tits pointed to the ceiling? And then why this? Because...
Well, you never seen a goth person?
Now, I'm pretty split on this because it's very obvious with Caleb, he is in ultra clip farming mode. Like, he needs to make the most outlandish, bizarre, stupid comments imaginable to try to basically boost engagement. Because again, I don't think people realize how absolutely content-brained most creators are, that they just have to say like these, you know, things you would not say to a normal person when walking down the street. That's why a lot of people seem to think like, oh, that YouTuber that I met that was like, you know, he's like really, he gives his own voices and opinions. He's actually kind of like quiet and introvert in person because again, like the clip farming mode is just not turned on there. Part of me thinks if you go onto that show to get help, you should be treated with some level of respect, definitely. But at the same time, if you're going onto Caleb's show, you should probably know that you're being basically thrown into like a viper's nest. Because definitely with Caleb, it'll be getting the content first and then trying to help you out as a secondary objective. And then D'Angelo reads one of Caleb's Reddit posts explaining why his titles and thumbnail styles have changed so much. Caleb coping, saying that essentially, like, YouTube is forcing content creators to make these kinds of thumbnails, saying that creators don't enjoy this, but they're forced to play the game. And again, I kind of do agree with it, unfortunately. We do live in a culture now where outrage is probably the biggest monetary currency we have. We've definitely moved away from people trying to be more kind of like genuine and down to earth because it's boring. It's boring. The biggest irony I find right now is YouTube was created as an alternative to TV, right? Like, you know, a way for people to express themselves. But now YouTube has basically done a full circle and it's slowly gone back into just being TV. You've got the 3 a.m. outrage, you know, talk show hosts like screaming at each other and they can swear because it's past 9 p.m. at night. You've got the clickbaity headlines that you'd be seeing in the news. We really have just came full circle here. And most YouTubers aren't even like singular people. They're usually like big companies with loads of writers, loads of researchers, cameramen, editors. Something late stage capitalism YouTube. I don't know where I'm going with that. Now, D'Angelo does make a pretty valid point here. He says that Caleb's content has kind of left the world of financial advice and it's basically just turned into like Dr. Phil nonsense, which again, like I've said earlier, it is the life cycle of a lot of these YouTube channels. They realize that, you know, they have a guest on that isn't like the social norm. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. That did 1 out of 10 on the YouTube studio. Okay, now I know what we have to do.
It's more just some like Dr. Phil nonsense of let me invite people who are either fine and make fun of them or people who are harmful and attribute all the harmful traits to things that are actually bigoted.
Now, there were some other claims that D'Angelo made as well, but he also did a second video where he introduces Caleb's stream, calling it the worst response he has ever received on the internet.
The single worst response I have ever received in the entire time I've been on the internet.
So he explains that before he had time to get his last video out, Caleb went live and reacted to D'Angelo's VOD, even saying that he had to sit through the entire 4-hour live stream to try to pick points to make his response for his video. And again, it all relates back to that outrage that I talked about earlier, like how that is the biggest currency and the biggest way to get popular now. I'm not saying what D'Angelo's claiming or what Caleb's saying is just clout farming, but I mean, it's pretty telling in our modern culture. If you go onto a subreddit, like for example, live stream fails, you'll usually have a clip of Asmongold and it's a clip that he's reacting to, while XQC is zoomed out also reacting to that same clip of Asmongold reacting to the original clip, and then there'll probably just be some third streamer that no one knows the name of.
All these streamers suck. Honest, I don't even know what's going on.
An absolute.
Obviously, you want to have power. You want to be.
So D'Angelo shows Caleb's response to his actual accusation of having like really misogynistic thumbnails, also the titles and his behavior towards women on the show. Now, Caleb does say that he actually checks in with the people he brings onto the show ahead of time and basically says, we're going to turn you into a bit of a clown. Are you okay with that?
Caleb says,
we tell them how crazy the episode's gonna be and how the thumbnails and titles are gonna be, and we ask if they're okay with it. They consented, you didn't, you don't matter.
Now, obviously, if this is true, this makes Caleb look a lot better. He's not just instantly flinging someone in. He's like, okay, like just to preface, we're gonna try to give you some financial advice. We're mostly just going to make fun of you. Are you okay with that? And if they consent to it, then yeah, like that's not really much of a problem. But D'Angelo isn't happy with that and basically says it's sidestepping and then tries to clarify his main point.
My point is that Caleb is playing into an ecosystem of misogynist content by appealing to people who hate women, want to see them get called the B word on the thumbnail or in the title, say you hate them, etc. The actual individual opinions of the people in the video have quite little to do with what I was saying.
Now, his next criticism was Caleb's content itself, which he doesn't actually disagree with, saying that he's going to make fun of someone being like a social justice warrior if he wants.
Anyway, my next point that I made was that he was an anti-SJW in the year of our Lord 2026, which I don't even think he disagreed with me.
Because every single person I've met who's a social justice warrior or like the old, like not old school woke, but like the new woke, because old school work was good, but they're actually like the worst people I've ever met. If the guest is an SJW, I will make fun of that. If the guest is a racist, I will make fun of them for being racist.
Now, D'Angelo does clarify that he thinks that this kind of content is really harmful, but he does clarify that while these kinds of people that are very insufferable do exist, this label being consistently applied to people that aren't worthy of that level of hatred, it kind of just waters it down.
This is just stupid. He explains that like social justice warrior is a horrible type of person. These are awful people who are constantly on their moral high horse, people who like hold people to these impossible standards and this, that, the other. And while there are definitely people like this who exist, I just find it quite interesting how the term SJW gets applied to people who are usually just saying things like, oh, hey, don't say slurs. Ooh, maybe you shouldn't treat marginalized people as less than.
D'Angelo then shows Caleb's response, and that Caleb's content implicitly makes fun of people who use alternate pronouns. And then Caleb responds by saying he does actually respect, you know, everyone's pronouns. And apparently he had to look up D'Angelo's pronouns before even doing this response because he thought D'Angelo was a woman.
Do we respect pronouns?
Absolutely.
On the show, I have made mistakes, but I respect. Dude, we actually we're researching your pronouns because I thought you were a woman.
Now, D'Angelo shows Caleb's response to like accusations of being homophobic, and Caleb basically says many people that work on the show for him are gay.
Next, I accused him of leaning on homophobia as well, which he said can't be the case because
I don't hate gay people. We have, someone say, too many gays working at this company. No, that's a joke again. You read a title that is outrageous and silly and you say I'm homophobic? You say I'm sexist? No, you're fucking retarded. That's the only real thing here.
I mean, even doing research for this video, I found old clips of Caleb even saying, like, you know, at one point he thought he was bisexual. Then Caleb addresses what D'Angelo brought up, the clip of him saying the word to refer to his guest autistic son. Apparently, she consented because they had a conversation about it before the show.
For an outrageous moment that she consented to. I talked to her about it before we started filming. You don't know anything. You're offended on behalf of someone who is not offended.
let's say you have someone on your show and you both agree, okay, we're going to go whack a random person with a stick. When I show up later making a YouTube video called Caleb Hammer should probably stop whacking random people with sticks, I don't actually think you get to say, well, the person I invited to whack people with me was a consenting adult, so you don't know anything.
Now, there's this one clip that D'Angelo shows on the stream where Caleb, I'm sure this is parody, to prove that he is not racist, he calls up a black friend on his phone.
Robert, am I racist?
No, not racist.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rob.
But then the tensions escalate because Caleb starts to, you know, mingle around with the idea of possibly suing D'Angelo.
Literal liar. And actually, that's a lie against our business. I could sue you for that. And maybe I will. I have unlimited money.
Do it.
He's looking for it.
I could sue you because that's actually defamation against me and my business, saying that this whole thing is fake.
There was also one point earlier in the stream that I kind of glossed over where D'Angelo was criticizing Caleb's course because, of course, everyone has to have a course now to be like them. And this is $1,000, which is a pretty hefty price tag. I mean, dude, everyone's done a course. You've got like all the fitness boys like Clavicular. You got Andrew Tate. Jake Paul did his own fitness course, how to be an influencer. It's like how back in the early 2010s, how YouTubers would write a book that no one would buy. Now, this is the main reason I think why Caleb was looking at suing D'Angelo, because by D'Angelo saying that this is basically a scam, it's defamation and he can sue him for that.
Charging $997 for the personal audit experience, which is ostensibly supposed to help you get your finances in order. He's claiming that this is actually a $7,000 offer, which he has marked down 86%. I can't sit here and call this a scam, but I could definitely sit here and say this is predatory.
But D'Angelo then does emphasize he never said it was a scam.
You can't just say it's a scam. You never took it. But you saying that in front of thousands of people, buddy, I'm going to sue you. It is objectively not a scam.
I didn't say it was a scam. I really didn't. I still don't believe it's a scam. I believe exactly what I said.
At no point does D'Angelo ever say that this course was a scam. He said that it was not good, but he never said it was a scam. D'Angelo then shows a lot of clips of Caleb just being basically unhinged, you know, where he's like very passionately Charisma 100 in Fallout ranting about D'Angelo.
I cut out so many parts that just sounded like this.
I don't think you know this because everyone around you tells you you're a good person. You are a bad person.
I just feel like that's
you are a negative force in this world. You fucking stupid piece of over sensationalizing shit. You have done no research. You have ruined your career.
But D'Angelo does point something funny out. Remember the original stream title saying, I'm suing D'Angelo? At the time, it was then quickly retitled to D'Angelo Wallace is trying to cancel me. So it's almost like he's gone from being the aggressor to then switching and going on to the defense. There was even this comment that Caleb made, apparently, when they both cooled off, saying that he'd be down to like DM him and actually, you know, have a genuine conversation with him. But D'Angelo affirms that, you know, he has no interest in actually reaching out to Caleb because, again, would this be like an actual conversation? Would it be on his podcast where it's like monetized? I could literally see it now. The title would be Confronting My Biggest Hater. You know, it'd be like a Shane Dawson thumbnail where he had that Bobby Burns guy. Oh, you know what, by the way, I just remembered this stuff. It was 8 years ago. 8 years ago. That is horrifying. I mean, I'm not saying Caleb would do this, but I just remember now how Shane Dawson was milking this into heaven. It's like confronting my hater in person. Hater confronts my mom. Buying my hater a car. Like that was a whole story arc here. Like maybe at one point they would have got married or something. Now, it did seem that Caleb calmed down a little bit. He introspected a little bit. He went to the kettle. He poured himself a little chamomile tea because someone commented on his video saying, are you suing or nah? And Caleb basically said, likely not worth the time or energy. I get worked up easily. So it's kind of like, you know, it's like a Thanos thing. Like this guy isn't even worth my time. This D'Angelo guy, D'Angelo who? And then Caleb ended up posting on his own Reddit, basically just this pretty lengthy reply that D'Angelo went over. So what's happened now? It seems that at the time of recording, Caleb hasn't really posted any other responses since D'Angelo's video. And he doesn't seem to be suing D'Angelo either. But if you go onto the Caleb Hammer live channel where the original React stream was from, they've updated the banner saying that it's under construction and there's no actual content accessible on that channel at all apart from shorts. So again, like, could this have made Caleb kind of introspect a little bit and realize that he might want to change his content? Yeah, probably not. Probably not, to be honest. It is always weird seeing situations like this because it is very obvious that Caleb and D'Angelo share incredibly different audiences. There's basically no overlap with the kind of content that these two make. They're both commentary-esque, but obviously the audience that they cater to and that they've founded will be massively different. Now, if Caleb was smart, he would talk to D'Angelo behind the scenes, squash the beef, and then pretend to hate each other to have a rigged boxing match, just like Logan Paul and KSI did.